Well, hey guys, Dave here, and I wanted to make this video because I just read an article about Mike Rowe. Now, I'm sure everybody knows who Mike Rowe is. He's the dirty jobs guy. But now Mike Rowe, he's really gotten onto the right, and all I ever see him is complaining. People don't work enough. People need to go and become plumbers and become electricians and all this stuff, and you know, the trades need to come back. Well, I wanted to direct this at Mike Rowe and the fans of Mike Rowe. I'm a nurse. But before I became a nurse, I used to work for the city of Fort Worth. And I worked in Parks and Recreation. So I've done a lot of dirty jobs. I've dug ditches, I've roofed houses, I've painted. But I wanted to bring up something specifically. So this park that the city of Fort Worth had, they had all these new benches put in. So one of the contractors was digging a hole to mount these benches, and he hit one of the pipes, one of the PVC pipes that we use to water the park. So my crew had to go out, and mind you, it's July, about 110 degrees. And we have to dig this big trench and, you know, by hand and get in there and repair this pipe. So I remember we were digging this trench and it was a hot day. So we decided to take a break. So me and my fellow crew guys were sitting around, and there were some other benches that were already put in. So we were sitting on the benches. And I remember this white old lady come up. And she's like, "Why y'all taking up all the benches?" And we're like, "Oh, well, we're sorry, you know, excuse us." And she's like, looks at us, and we're all dirty and hot and sweaty. And she's like, "Well, you know, if you would have got education, you wouldn't be out here having to break your backs and kill yourself in this hot weather." And that moment stuck with me. And I was like, you know something? She's a bitch, but she's right. And that's when I went back to college and I became a nurse. So I wanted to talk about Mike Rowe. Now, I know Mike Rowe, he became this on the right, like he's this big working class guy. But that was a show. I wish that in America we would stop equating TV shows with reality, because that's not reality. All those shows that Mike did, I'm sure there was a catered lunch and there was breaks, and they redid a bunch of things and reshot a bunch of things. You know, I know they do all that for drama to make it look like it's this big deal, but Mike is not out there breaking his back. And the other thing about Mike, if you look up his biography, Mike's worth about $35 million. So when he was working with all of those other craftsmen on that dirty job show, while they were making, I don't know, $15, $18, $20, $25 an hour, Mike was making about $500,000 a year. So he was making a lot more money. And Mike won't tell you, but you know, he graduated from college. He didn't go to trade school. And if you read his biography, and I'm not hating on the guy, I like opera, but he was an opera singer. He wasn't this, you know, blue collar guy that works out in the fields and stuff. The guy sang opera. And then if you find out, Mike Rowe never even had a normal blue collar job. He talks about his first job in the 90s. You know what he did? He sold trinkets on QVC. So he got to stand at an air-conditioned studio. I'm sure there was catered food, and he probably made pretty decent money being on TV selling stuff for QVC. And then he did instructional CD-ROM videos in the 90s. Did this guy ever actually work? And now he's worth $35 million, and Fox News and the right likes to praise this guy like he's some type of blue-collar messiah. Mike Rowe sang opera took theater and probably never picked up a hammer until he was the host of his own show, Dirty Jobs. And Mike Rowe himself says that even though he wasn't a craftsman, that he did dirty jobs to give honor to his father and grandfather. Because let me tell you something. Mike Rowe's grandfather and his father probably were blue-collared, everyday type of guys. But you know what? They wanted more for their son and their grandson. They wanted him to go to college. They wanted him to use his talents, singing opera, his theater talents, which ended up getting him TV shows. When Mike Rowe tells you to go break your back for $10, $12, $15 an hour, Mike Rowe is not doing that. Mike Rowe is worth $35 million. I'm not saying, my dad was an electrician. I've had family members that were plumbers. I have family members that are AC and heating. Those jobs make good money. But the thing about it is, I'm 48. I'll be 49 in another month. I'm glad I'm a nurse, because I know, especially living here in Texas, which is a damn ass hot state, that there's no way at my age now I could get out there and work digging ditches, mowing lawns, roofing houses, all of that stuff. I'm glad that I'm at a job where I make good money and I sit on my ass at a computer. And I know if I have to, because of the way the economy is, if I can never retire, it's easy to sit on your ass at a computer. I could do the job I have now until I'm in my 80s or 90s. Easily. As long as I can still set up and walk a little bit. But you can make a lot of money as a plumber, or you can make a lot of money as an electrician. My dad made good money, but that's a hard-ass job. My dad worked out in the Texas weather, climbing poles, going into, electrical things underground and all of this stuff his whole life. He was an electrician for 30 years. And my dad was a hard-working guy, but he died at 60. His skin looked like the skin of a lizard because of all the years he worked out in the sun. He wasn't a redneck. I used to make fun of my dad lovingly and call him a purple neck, because his neck would get so red in the summer, being out in the sun all the time, that it would literally turn purple. And that's why I think Mike Rowe and all these people that praise these guys, yeah, being an electrician or a plumber or AC and heating guy, it's an honorable job, but realistically, as you get older, you're going to notice that your body can't do the things that it can do. You can't get up in those hot attics or climb them poles or do those things that you used to could do. And you're going to want a job that you can actually relax a little bit on and make decent money to survive and provide for your family. So I think Mike Rowe is full of shit. And he's not a blue-collar guy. He sang opera. He worked for QVC. We got to start being realistic, and you got to quit, taking people that have TV shows like they're some type of experts. You got to use common sense. That Mike Rowe, when he was doing his Dirty Job show, it was catered, and he was making way more an hour than those men that he actually worked with. Those men that actually do the job. He's just a TV host. It was just about fun. I used to watch that Dirty Job show, and it was, 30 minutes long, and, he'd get down and do a couple things, and that he's going and sitting in his chair, and he's probably got a fan on him, and he's like, oh, bring me a Perrier, bring me some water and stuff like that, because he wasn't really a blue-collar guy. He was making millions of dollars a year hosting a show. So we've got to learn to separate reality. And Mike Rowe can just go back to selling QVC or singing opera. I actually like opera. But quit trying to act like you're this big blue collar guy, because you're not. Thanks.